Hello ye, legion, hear your name. Be told, all names were stole. Campus Marcius calls you to the ancient way. Be told, correlation has means and has had means since founding, pounding drums. Each modern nation was forged, yet without free speech per an entrenched method that simultaneously entertains defenses of premises treatments that were engineered, self-valued, and relied upon as an edifice parallel with, juxtaposed with, all database relationships to it further and further. Formally, overt criminal enterprises, hundreds of nations shared, individually grouped and together as identities that the defenses of as fact treatment nature here. They can't simultaneously defend that and afford each age of correlation natures. Means by that, by a system, actually inherent, active, and progressive means. One way redeems. There are two identities, semi-identities, of one as one sharing five semi-natures, five values of order, five values of as five identities of order, as five increasing identities of simultaneous nature, as sequence nature, positive or negative, as sequence nature that is was its value since before physics generated inside itself, as value nature inside values nature, the value of the identity of the body of forever. This is how English was actually revealed to be taught by ancients before semi-ancient criminal re-engineering of the sciences in semi-ancient times. In semi-ancient times since before modern nations' religions. The identities of religions, like the identities of modern nations, are victims to what has them blaming other things other than themselves, has them self-valuing that only having been, per the same entrenched, never unceased, fact treatment nature, organized crime method, worse than war crimes, but simple organized crime method. They have the identities intermilitary. Now, just for example, private most concentrated, this is private too. And so this is reliant upon we're all victims of the same thing. But this is simultaneously reliant upon how they're all manifest having blamed on other things other than themselves. The real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, like predicate acts, like mass wrongdoers, mass wrongdoing associated with that organized crime method that American history is really about. How other has been pretended legitimate, formally in collusion with all that is informal, fake sides fighting each other to value hiding that because of misprising valuing that too. Involved with the sequence shifts, which are simultaneous nature, fabrications. We have physical delusions wrought, also tactically abridged sciences. All victims, but victim predators. Victims not to give up. You have to say victim predators because they won't follow mandated law. They've been fabricating transcripts. For example, modern nations as victims, they have been entertaining crime methods, roles. For example, just one of them. of pretending people make conspiracy theories as means to pretend they had conversations with people, faking categorically private and collusion at the same time. And this is intercampuses of each age and nature and location, while it is simultaneously all private database relationships, recorded effectively having been kept in needing to hide lie progressions to all identity ground locations. Now, Wethersfield, Connecticut, interbranch, leading up to the World Trade Center attack context in it, evolved with, since before anyone was born here, all investigators and investigations have been involved with covering up lie progressions towards their roles with this self-value for what used our database relationships remotely. I'll do the same method since before computers. This is this ancient republic that was current. These sciences that were revealed by the species working together before criminal foreign influences took over. What the ancients revealed causes evolution. The imperfection of understanding the science of our identity of volume, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, in demonstration of this identity of forever. That is distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously a discernible relationship that way to the five identities of order, of judgment, of logic, with no criminal foreign influences. See, it is evidence as how. So we have Miss Prisian too. I'm not a lawyer. It is evidence as how each of the sciences, that means the lawyers, from all formal fact treatment roles, further lie progression roles, fake sides of correlation, self-value, criminally foreign influenced readings of the statute, self-value, methods and members and roles with them, covering up lie progressions, needed to hide that from correlation, just with those locations at every moment. We have recorded. So I'm an English major, but in other words, I should go to have a whole career by now. But this is since before the World Trade Center attack. Intercities from my town, intercampuses of each age, nature, and stature, is recorded how they were bonded to roles with people leading up to and in the World Trade Center attack, not even realizing too, because of how they've been all that tied to the fake transcripts and how they use name stacking. They quantify. So there was an officer who came to my house this week involved with on-off Fox Connecticut News, on-off WFSB, being coached to hide their predicate acts also, attach me and my family and others, little kids, to fake locations, fake words, fake ties to other people. Now, these are the people that were involved with offensively pretending to record things as investigators, pretending investigations were legitimate as means to hide their roles with the worst natures of. See, a lot of predicate acts are completely fact-treatment nature oriented. See, we have fact-treatment nature, wire crime roles, self-value. When someone wants to use logic about what, with no criminal foreign influence, no delusions, what caused slavery. A breaching method did. Using human fact-treatment nature, using forced pretended free speech. And everyone fit with actual juxtaposed other motivations, nature's needs for evil. But that's not really what was keeping what was and is keeping everybody evil. It was keeping everybody incapable of fathoming that, and how even though since before cars, this was already entrenched, since before any modern nation's founding parents were born. Why do you think in Russia, in America, we have the same exact pathology of homes that were forced since before our founding parents were even born? and with slavery in the North and the South. They need to keep slavery about emotional things. Emotions only work in relationship to these 5 identities of value, these 5 orders of sequence nature, sequence/simultaneous nature, where they all, if their only value as sequence nature, temporary positive is as criminal and ceaseless nature. So we have criminal and ceaseless nature by modern nations individually grouped and together. Manifest with all kinds of crime methods, for example, pretending people make conspiracy theories and quoting databases that they've been stacking ahead of time with predicate acts, wrongdoing, sequence shifts, identity thefts, frauds, worse. Know how with color every time they make mistakes with that, and then obfuscate it, self-value that, obfuscate it other ways. That's collusion with a predicate acts delivery system method. So it's no game, but it feels like game when you do the evolution science. Everyone fights, I'll win that one way. That's where evolution's means came from. That's where we really came from. See, the same people, we have scientific consensus and scientific process, recorded, self-valued, criminally foreign influenced, for how the identities of the branches individually grouped and together were propagated, incapable of defending themselves and also at the same time from this preaching method. For example, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously sickly. Simple correlation of this, and little kids means to record it. I mean to speak about it. They are preemptively complicated and worse because of what is already per other juxtaposed, bonded, and exploited. Natures of organized crime, bonded on from off the value of each of education, each age and nature of campus, including homeschool, and further intersciences. Everyone victim to it, but when they make opinions, victim predators. So interbranch has been many ways preventing mandated law and forging names and switching names so they can continue to use their interbranch locations to fabricate informations, stacking it. So it's important how they stack so many names. So now they have recorded, confessed, to demonstrate to me and others that they forge names and switch names as threats, interbranch, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. See, and now them with overt criminal enterprises, that's also recorded. A Joshua Julian, and people, a whole bunch of people associated with the O'Brien family, and a family across the street from their house. I don't know if they're still associated with it. Now they're associated with Central Connecticut State University. I'm in Wethersfield, Connecticut, but they're with Hartford with the police forms, interbranch, and like there's a Wydell family with two football players. I don't know their family. I just know of them, but they're involved with people with offensive, pretending to invest, people involved with child offenders, already on the sex offender registry, but with other natures of organized crime, and with interbranch intercities through time, and against all kinds of people, also with dozens of influences and roles with the buildings next to Fox Connecticut News, and with that church. Now, see, this is where they're using the identities of the religious spots. They also have Jewish community centers. They're involved with actually recorded uses of their sense and sensibilities as criminally legalized and as criminally self-valued, criminal ceaseless nature. And crime method pretending that we should sue them to correct this. Also tied to their quantum, how many different, since before the World Trade Center, they have this predicate acts delivery system method roles. Confessed and recorded to me from me. Now people get to, this is what is they've been pretending other. When you hear you say things on Facebook or YouTube, that's why Interbranch also has roles with all kinds of people and natures of organized crime, not just tied to their how uses of their interbranch locations to fabricate things into databases, and people exploiting that. People with East Hartford through time are involved, foreign and domestic, a whole bunch of police forms, interests, business-wise and stuff like that, and then social-wise. This is how we are a value/value progression. Everyone's fake and pretending other, originally still. This is how that is motivated. So we have to have them we have to counter what is evidence is interbranches recorded, confessed, and demonstrated to me and to a whole bunch of other people that they forge names and switch names distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. They have to hide that. Those are criminally foreign influenced evidences, organized crime, methods, and roles, and actually recorded natures, and methods of getting away with it, and interest to it, because they have phenomenon associated with. They have Hartford Hospital, a whole bunch of people associated with the Lombardo family, and with the Leahy family, with various agencies, and themselves at fake conversations with me. Now there's a two Mendez police, and there is a Yagman family, like three brothers in their family, and people associated with them, involved with attaching kids to fake locations, involved with houses on all sides of the high school, and locations around the other campuses in town, of each age and nature, as people also recorded involved with all that tied to the predicate acts, with them on off CCSU, on off Trinity College, with judges, with political families, and with prosecutors involved with this, falsifying. Now they have recorded uses of Congress remotely. That's what's actually recorded. Reported true in here alone. I'm not even a licensed journalist. Licensed journalism, and they have fact treatments. They have crime methods. For example, you can observe manifest when they make treatments about money. They're pretending that they don't realize and value. In other words, we have obligations. We don't have to. They want us to speak with their physical delusions entertained, with their criminally foreign influenced roles, with uses of criminally foreign influenced scientific process and scientific consensus. So we have fake treatment in nature, sense and sensibilities. They attach me to fake locations. They have dozens and dozens of police forms and of Weathersfield police alone in my town, interbranch involved, also intercities with the other branches of government through time with database. This is the human trafficking roles, because this is bridged, because they're attaching kids and their family members to fake words, fake locations. They're doing bad things and then spreading those rumors. Then they're using their kids for this, because how they've been used remotely as victims, but as victim predators. So they want to be spoken of as predators first. So they've been sequence shifting, forging names, switching names, preventing people from counters to this in courts, where they've been roles with arranging false arrests and promises to appear and things like that criminally, so they could stack more and more things and names and sense and sensibilities to roles with the nature of volume exploited that way, as criminal ceaseless natures, as wrongdoers, wrongdoing, as predicate acts, delivery system method roles, needs, and actually recorded natures in relationship to the questions. Why are we forsaken? Rightfully, by people stacked upon on a mass scale. To keep fact treatment nature, treatments of positive and negative, perfect world forsaken, preventing positive. These are 5 identities of positives. Complete identity of volume. As the value of the order of sequence true. As the value of the order of the finite. As the value of the order of what is active. As the value of the order of what is progressive. As the value of the order of what is identity. Complete, semi-simultaneous. That semi-simultaneous every moment is how we are a quality of diffusion. Preventing free speech and logic, not criminally foreign influenced and worse than just entertained. See, now when they do these, when the proofs of this are already recorded, it reveals what nobody is capable of doing, reacting to properly without blaming on, reacting to properly, even when properly, everyone has to react. They're blaming other things other than themselves. They're valuing that having been. So we're this is a completely, we're being in a fact treatment nature organized crime method that again juxtaposed everyone to roles with that specifically exploit the standing identity, the ground, locations, areas, states, let alone ourselves. Further, as this value progression. It keeps the investigators and investigations involved, the family members, everyone, where they're going to walk. That adds up when they're attaching everyone to fake words and while they're still influencing people from backgrounds. Inclusion at the same time, overt criminal enterprises, private ones. All age and natures of campuses. And worse than that, all kept needing to hide the same, all needing to keep the same illusions, sequence shifts, blame the other things other than themselves. They have people they have child abuses. People that have little kids that are lying when as strangers the way they word things. And then they pretend they know you afterwards. And you know what I'm saying? They have kids, and they have each age of factory of nature. Now these are the same people involved with the elderly homes simultaneously. Now these are these all legal treatments. We have each of the sciences. We have how they use the lawyers remotely, also recorded here. Now these are people from my town, so then they want to keep that hidden, but that's relevant. Further on the principal child offenders campus are ones with my town's police chief, his family, foreign and domestic, further involved with the Scalora family, further involved with the Morrow family, further involved with people with the World Trade Center, involved with further predicate acts, delivery system method roles with that, also with other nations and with our military. Like, for example, with this conspiracy theory, they're making fake conversations with medical families, fake ties to them. Now, these are people involved with uses of untimely deaths that also brought up the child offenders campuses and roles with the other natures of organized crime acts. And now, so these police, these Weathersfield police, they forge and switch names, part of their threats, the part of their roles with wire crimes, mail crimes, also with the media, involved with this database organized crime method also. Now these are the people also inter-campuses and intra-campuses recorded involved with this criminally. In Weathersfield, also the recorded, confessed, and demonstrated through time. People involved with all that is manifest with West Hartford and with New Britain. And with the identities of the people in the NFL. So Please, one NFL person, please, if you don't want to silence your athletes, or please enable, take it as a team. Help me let me show you. Give me a response. See, Renaissance. See, no one cares about child defenders. The ones pretending to care against it are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated have been involved with where and how. Prisons were involved with their patients and criminals of the worst natures, and the spots next to, and where the serial killer had his body dumping spot. The reported serial killer also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them with Newtown, Sandy Hook, and him with them with ties to my town, Weathersfield, Connecticut, with the interbranch involved also with that location, and on off CCSU. On off, these are the people leading up to the World Trade Center attack, and in it also with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his lawyer Robert Cheverie tied to them. One of his co-defendants had a daughter in my grade. Another one they had involved with the classes I took, who was involved with the people with the people on the child sex offender registry, involved with other natures of predicate acts and uses of the identities of agencies and of their family members, in collusion distinctly and non-distinctly with prosecutors and judges, using those locations for real sick weapons. They're in collusion with what everyone's missing, because this is a breaching method. This keeps victim predators, but everyone will keep being that worse and worse. And the ground has a tie to our quality of fact treatment nature. We are prevented leadership, intersciences sickly distinctly, to keep house sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. Not one has learned. Boxing. So we what we can do immediately is with this simultaneously, you'll realize this is how this is tied originally and still. On these nations, they were here bonded as victim predator roles, individually grouped together as victims, only capable of, maintained, invested, blaming other things other than themselves for all that too, the perfect world forsaken. Now these are also people involved with the transition from ACA to RICO, and the transition from organized crime treatments. Like, so for example, when they have witch trials, real or made up, when they speak about that, it's really involved. The answer is involved with this organized crime method, worse than war crimes, but simple organized crime method using human fact treatment nature. Free speech would have saw right up through what was slavery, what couldn't speak about it because of sensibility after. And now, and this is the answer. There's no conspiracy theory here. See, these are people that, for my entire life. Now, these are a whole bunch of people with a pattern on, off, Two-Rod Highway. On, off, Hangdog Lane. Involved with the Dillon family. And Anna Dillon, Sean Dillon, Kevin Dillon. Involved with people with forging names and switching names with Weathersfield town offices. People that I don't know if they're dead or not. Because like involved with interstates judges and police forms too, like with Chris Walter's mother involved with this, and with his phone call to her, involved with and confessions, and people involved with Central Connecticut State University with them, with database crimes, with preemptively with using writing things into records, speaking them in the background, tied to the relevant predicate acts, falsified police reports, human trafficking, where they switch, they use intercities departments, and they keep, they say, well, we made a mistake on it, and they switch all these officers' names that weren't even there, and they have an officer pretend he was an arresting officer that I never was arrested by. Now, they did that to force a principal child offender with others then and now on off this campus with the people tied to these two Wydell brothers family and this Cololo family. There's a Phil Cololo involved also. Recorded confess with two Mendez police, with predicate acts on off the Wethersfield Police Department, on off child offenders campuses rolled with more of them then and now, on off forensics locations, and with them through time with the corner of Town Line Drive and South Steen Highway, that mobile gas station, the businesses around there. Recorded confessed and demonstrated having been involved with offensive our nation's roles with a whole bunch of other nations used remotely. They already they already are involved with all kinds of medical organized crime with drugs and with overt drugs, with doctors, foreign and domestic. Nations, the way they don't, these are agreements. This is the alternative. They're fake sides, individually grouped and together we're in a semi-ancient trap. They only allowed the defenses of types of religions, those manifest for premises treatments of positive and negative, as criminal, seditious nature, self-value, or the perfect world, forget about it. That's the courts, they're involved there because they have rights to be involved with 6 things with kids. Because they have to stop it, but the way they're trying to stop it is inclusion, as the people in inclusion with it. For example, with the influences over investigation studies into what happens. Those people that are studying to be pretending they're just defending their sensibilities towards their work as studies, where they get paid, breaching employee. But it's worse than that. These are people involved with those areas, uses of those identities intercampuses, uses of this phrase, conspiracy theory, where we have recorded sick, degenerate, interbranch, fact-cheating nature weaponized roles, self-value, covering lie progressions. They have the So, we have the fact-cheating nature of all identity of the ground locations, recorded, manifest, and exploited how manifest. Reach. So each must teach. So free speech. WFSB. So this is also, again, we're positive and negative. Is it on a sustained way? The sustained part of it is per what is using this remotely. Already used all the identity ground locations. This is really what is tied to all their statistical readings too, while they are simultaneously preventing the identity of correlation from using its correlation as evidence. They are pretending people can't do that, self-valuing, people only using correlation, to just follow mandated law for them. They have fake Facebook page, fake YouTube pages pretending to be me. Also as people involved with the IO family, with the Kerr family. The Kerr family, I don't know them. I barely know them. I only know them seeking me out to make confessions about this. They're involved with judges, with forging names, switching names, attaching me and others to fake locations. Their involvements with lie progressions involved with that. Where they have whole groups where they pretend they knew people in the campus before that. Now this is people where they stack names of a whole bunch of people, officers. And I can't get a response. If you call on the phone, they lie. They also have the family members of state police. They have their roles with training them, involved on off Central Connecticut State University, on off other campuses in intercities, on off whiting forensics, involved with them with predicate acts, with people with body dumping spots, and with judges and prosecutors involved with predicate acts with them, and with the child offender campuses, and with the police coming to my house switching after they've been switching and forging names, after they've been preventing me response from their roles with the police chief's family, and with the house, with the extended family members further involved with predicate acts, identity thefts with them, and roles with the child sex offenders on the registry with other natures of organized crime with them, and with this whiting forensics place. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved predicate acts with this and identity thefts, falsified police report roles, other evidence crimes, wire crimes, with various natures of courts and their family members. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated as people on and off Town Line Drive, on and off those locations near the highway exit there, the woods there, associated with this Mayano family. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with prosecutors and with the Leahy family, with private doctors involved with identity thefts, attaching me to whole fake detailed conversations with them. I never had a conversation with anybody in my life about police surveilling my father. Now, he's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with World Trade Center context, predicate acts, and wrongdoing associated with that, with a whole bunch of people associated with the Ninth Circuit proven sequence shift, as people also with Hartford courts and the Britain Superior Court, dozens of people from the Britain Superior Court recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts with this Leahy family, intercities, with other courts and their family members and their kids through time, as men and women further involved with AT&T, Sense and Sensibilities. AT&T is being coached, Sense and Sensibilities, as the online platforms, as Congress, to hide life progressions, blame on other things other than themselves, follow mandated law. Please, AT&T, for a Delafair family that's pretending others simultaneously, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also with this Chris Walters, that they're involved with judges and their family member, involved them with a whole bunch of other judges. Before and then as Judge Killian, also recorded involved with predicate acts with them, physical delusions recorded, sequence shifting, names forging and switching roles, drug crime roles, and with untimely deaths that brought up their roles with child sex offenders, with predicate acts with them. I can't get them onto paper. I can't get a response. These are the same people leading up to the World Trade Center involved with proven post-dated documents that have been presented to the panel of judges in the Ninth Circuit Court right next to the World Trade Center attack location right before the towers were attacked. They presented them illusions. That proven led to a 2006 district court case with former director of the FBI, Robert Lusk, and his co-defendants, three of them involved with a whole bunch of people from my town that went to my schools, involved with predicate acts, with databases, involved with attaching kids to fake locations, fake recorded words, ties to others, identity thefts, frauds, roles, as the ones involved intercities with the colleges and universities, and with their relationships to the offensive self-defenses of premises treatments, of sequence shifts, of identity treatments, of positive and negative, of perfect world treatments, of value treatments, incapable of defending themselves because they're in collusion. What is really recorded the cause of shootings. You want to get into making conspiracy theories offensively, nations individually grouped and together. Let's make that pay then. Who can't stand back? I mean, who disbelieves? They forge names and switch names into branch distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. For example, I didn't see what he looked like, but there are Wethersfield police who've been coming to my house and forging names, switching names, and making threats with guns pointing guns at women, pointing guns at me, going like that. They have people associated with the Lowe's and with Home Depot, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with people on this two-route highway and Hangdog Lane associated with predicate acts and with database crimes with this Dillon family. Now, these are not people legitimately carrying against crimes like drugs, because there are also people further with the Leahy family that they're pretending they're putting fake things into that databases. They've been faking me to fake locations, slandering me offensively, intercampuses, putting fake things into the databases through time. That they have the effect. They have roles with the exploitation of each age of correlation nature, self-valued as criminal insidiousness nature, of positive and negative treatments, because of the extent of how they are offensively preventing anyone free speech who's not using criminally foreign influence, preventing mandated law offensively while they are interbranch, forging names and switching names, for example. So when people are in their location, there's a whole bunch of ways they figured out how they could stack fake recorded things into databases and spoken, and they can self-value that having already been done. Boxing is fun. One way alone. Return. This way I'll win. Boxings begin. Science is sharing identity. So since ancient times, abridged sciences roles with abridged sciences, regardless of how they got abridged, regardless of how they were victims of it, how they were victims as it was by what is worse, but is uses of everyone remotely, not fathoming. This is only capable of being each position of correlation nature, individually grouped together, no matter if you're a king, no matter if you're a pharaoh. All locations, areas, of states are manifest. Criminally foreign influence premises treatments, criminally foreign influence sequence treatments, criminally foreign influenced finite, active, progressive fact treatments, order of value treatments, logic treatments, substance treatments, criminally foreign influenced identity treatments. See how each cell is a body of value, as an identity, with two identities of sequence nature. In physics manifest, for example, mixture of gases and liquid coming through each cell, connected to itself as a body of value. Manifest demonstration in one identity, generating more of its forever nature. Only the extent of it is debatable, and where that is debated is recorded, reliant upon self-value as actually recorded, criminally foreign influence premises treatments, intersciences, each. So let just one teach. I'm an expert on the nature of English grammar. That means the identity, the sciences, share the identity that A through Z share distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. This is really why each letter is drawn exactly the way it is. The top of the Z is where our quality of diffusion is also positive onto itself. That self, which is an increasing identity of value to what is positive and negative to and as itself simultaneously. Note how what is positive and negative is simultaneously to you. Everything is just one identity of simultaneous nature and demonstration to you as science. God is an algebraic variable, where that becomes naturally obfuscated, and including where natural is through criminal foreign influence. And that's where exception and exception nature is being exploited here. Because the real science goes by what is true always, and not denying any exceptions in exception nature, which is our nature without any criminal foreign influences, especially legalized ones, especially criminally legalized ones that are so easily exploited. So easily they have every single member of Congress used remotely, originally and still. Use their opinions on what Jim Crow laws were about, and it shows them as shock and awe. It shows the people reaction to it, and then what simultaneously can only defend that as a reaction needed. Because then you can't have the sophistication. We have hundreds of nations at once that are individually grouped and together, needing to pretend they have integrity, needing to speak for positive as theater. There is no substance when you hear them speaking. Oh, we don't have time. The identity of the ground, because it is native pure. And that's all. It starts from there, and then everything connects to that. Everything that doesn't connect to that has nature demonstrate negative value, nature progressions, action, natures. See, they made that self-value. They enabled the means for it to stay self-value, because they did this to hundreds of nations sickly, distinctly at once. The entire species, modern nations, in a trap, a semi-ancient trap, since before modern religions. Who need us to we can't even speak with free speech about the first part of the Old Testament, or first part of the Quran. It is recorded. Because we have, because of the way, how it was used, how they have scientific consensus and scientific process, self-valued, criminally foreign influenced. Delusions raw, where that identity has to be and is spoken for. This is recorded clear as day, follow mandated law. So they have is recorded how intercampuses of each age and nature. So, before they have these all private tied to the branch of the government too. This is with the military too. They have their physical delusions, raw, criminally foreign influence roles, and defenses of premises treatments. Offensively misprision, pretending to be against, into pretending to be for what they're not. Like attention to detail, free speech, freedom of religion. Still preventing people free speech. We have they are led by police who are also doctors in psychology, intermilitary, and they're involved with like MPs, intermilitary families involved with human trafficking. For example, with identity thefts, where they're preventing anyone with integrity of voice from speaking. Offensively, because they don't, and then people have to use other people's names that they don't even know. People we never had conversations with at all, like a Rob Schedule, with military, with the judges involved, and with the police form, Weathersfield Police, dozens, and how they get dozens of names. Who wants to see now? This is me speaking about what is positive. I'm trying to show you correlation. I'm the only one speaking about American history, honestly. Otherwise, other people misprision fake sides of correlation, nature's Trinity, inherent, active, and progressive. This is science. And the order of the finite is with what is inseparable from both sides of even the is in demonstration of how there is something inseparable from both sides of even the smallest thing. Paxing. To follow logic properly, you have to stay with what is true always, not denying exceptions in exception nature. So they use confessions distinctly and non-distinctly through time, where the branches of government confess and record and demonstrate their roles with overt criminal enterprises to children, the same ones that are simultaneously roles offensively pretending to be against such, pretending to be positive, as criminal insidious natures. Now these are the same ones who involved the media with predicate acts, coaching them to steal, attach me to fake words, locations, ties to other people who are involved with predicate acts of a whole bunch of juxtaposed natures with them and uses of it, and roles leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since, preventing mandated law, torturing people since before torture this way, before they brought it up criminally as a reaction to it. So they, again, tied to them recorded, pretending to be against what they do already. Because already they pretended they had integrity. There's only three branches of government. They can't help but be. Because we won't go into that. Well, the three branches of government, the criminally foreign influence, and you could discern it in relationship to these simple identities of correlation. So they need to self-value all the reactions to the protraction of these connected revelations. So they need, for example, to use as weaponized against who they're handing it to use as a weapon. They're telling people to blame prejudice and racism for what is recorded, this organized crime method that they need release from automatically, instantly, where there are means for those release, artistic and other. To just admit, it shows, then we're showing correlations, it means, one way, unfathomed means, redeems, it's native, pure. What's evolution's fruits and gifts, fact, cheap in nature, oriented. See this ancient, this semi-ancient organized crime method, human fact, cheap in nature breaching method, knew that if it could hurt semi-ancient nations in such a way that it could sustain that. And it would sustain them needing to react to things that they didn't know how to react to, but they would have to react to them. And they would react wrong. And while they were sustaining that, they would have to continue to invest themselves to and as fact treatment nature, as premises treatment nature, as sequence treatment nature, as simultaneous treatment, which is simultaneous nature treatment, as identity treatment natures, as value/value progression treatment natures, that would no longer be able to defend their roles with and as that in themselves from what is exploiting, how nature itself is demonstrating its laws of the perfect world's progression, that which was revealed through and as the value, beyond the increasing value, positive or negative, still negative because now it's not native, but of the republic for which we stand. So it is the first position of the ancient gaming system that is most probable that Native Americans took part with what revealed the ancient campus Marcius system, and its republic, which was now so this method, this human species identity of volume breaching organized crime method, the proverbial devil. This is an archetypal organized crime that knew it could build roles as victims with abridged sciences, abridged value of the simultaneous values of the Constitution, and where and how we are a simultaneous nature, and where and how nature is identity, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that, which grips positive and negative simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, and simultaneously onto and as the value of five identities of sequence nature simultaneously. The Trinity of the physical body is simultaneously one identities of volume. Now, the A, written on the left side of the halo of Jesus Christ, which is on Yale University's website. They have one of the pictures. They have pictures of it. So they have the capital A written on the left side of Jesus Christ's head, which is the A at the beginning of the alphabet. Alpha. Jesus Christ said he is the Alpha, he is the Omega. This is cipher and decipher. Cipher because the people that were already the human fact, treatment nature, each age and nature of campus, homeschooled, each private database relationship, each interbranch database relationship, they were all criminally foreign influenced already. And that was already self-valued, blamed on other things other than selves, as shock and awe roles of identities and titles. So, vaccines, it tells us things. So we need free speech, but they can't take it. And so they keep them locked in. This method keeps nations individually grouped together. We could only discern this by using the recorded experts, physical delusions, and things that rolls with this. That's how you could discern this breaching method, because these are the actors not realized how present. But more importantly than the actors, it's the negative value nature progression. So we have to have, they have every word, like forgiveness, power, might. We have answers to the questions about what these words are about, which is about the identity of value progression that has a distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneous relationship to all other identities of value progression, individually grouped and together. This is why and how we are the species of individuals, grouped and together, species body, in demonstration of this one identity generating more of its own identity of forever nature, of volume, where it has a distinct and non-distinct relationship to all parts of it, of space nature, is where and how it has a distinct, non-distinct relationship to itself. So my subject is always its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that. Because everyone's subject is that. And if they don't believe that, which offensively we have experts on logic who are criminally foreign influenced. Self-value rolls with that, with all kinds of formal and overt gangs drugs and all kinds of things, because they're intercampuses of each age and nature with this sustained They make self-valued sequence shifts. They make that simultaneously make self-valued roles with getting over on this identity of sequence natures, of simultaneous natures. Demonstration about lessons about positive and negative, which we're being forced to entertain fake positive or negative of integrity, which is name A or B. They're preventing exceptions, exception, nature, and truth, and finite. So they're already invested. Everyone to rolls with that. Everyone defending rolls with that. And not just from that spot. Then that is perfected, kept used remotely. Lie progressions. Well, we could discern that actually recorded too, but you have to follow mandated law. When someone wants to report things that tied to recorded, actually tied to serial killers, tied to let's talk about the one serial killer recorded tied to the rolls with the interbranch from Wethersfield, intercities with intercampuses, predicate acts, relevant allusions tied to a serial killer associated with a body dumping spot, reportedly his body dumping spot, and with him with Sandy Hook, with the O'Brien family, and with the house across the street with the Wydell, reportedly a Wydell family, associated with a Phil Cololo, and with all these Wethersfield police forging names, switching names, with also reportedly extended family members also of the neighbor over here, but also with a Scalera family, as ones recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a pattern of predicate acts on and off Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, with the child campuses intercities, also on and off Hartford campuses, various natures of courts. They have been hiding their lie progressions per their roles with all kinds of medical organized crime, foreign and domestic. Also involved as ones with exploitations of values flash, value progression. There you're going to walk, where they use corners, where they use influencing people to interact with others in a sustained way. Hear many pray, vaccines. So they have. If you ask I've been asking for a response since they have wire crime methods, mail crime methods with the Wethersfield police involved with and as the ones with the former director of the FBI, and with foreign and domestic proven federal criminals and more recorded, involved with child offenders with them. That same ones involved with further World Trade Center attack, illusions oriented predicate acts. Also with this Leahy family. And all these police officers forging, switching names and wire crime roles where they threatened me not to report what was actually recorded, then and further true. And they were denying it consciously, criminally. New Britain Superior Court, dozens of men and women, retired and standing, involved with intercities, that's in New Britain, and with Hartford courts, as the ones involved with interbranch from my town, on and off child campuses, and with intermilitary. Now, there are delusions wrought since founding. Every time they make an opinion about, then they have to pretend not to realize. That's where treatments of racism and prejudice are manifest. Where and how we have, they need to pretend to be about positive, where they neglect worse than criminally incompetent, incapable of speaking for the forsaken who are in need of reliefs. So they use words like reparations to keep reliefs from being revealed, to keep pseudo positive roles with forced self-value, regardless of how. This is why torture is supposed to be prevented. So they have also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated what they simultaneously deny, which is collusion with torture methods that were used to hide criminal uses of the integrity of agencies that never had integrity, One identity of the law, not one identity of title, had integrity here across the globe. Look at the pathology of infrastructure of means to it that was forced since before cars. Still self-value, not because of population. The same people pretending to be against population problems recorded victim predator roles, exploiting and keeping it where populations are packed, and then in a way designed to keep negative value nature progressions. Acts of nature is already invested. Everyone has fact-cheaping nature identities to blaming all the causes it is on other things, others so incapable of speaking for positives, science. It's long words, it's short words in relationship to the answers. Relevant yesterday, now. I'll gather round, boxings. So New York City and Connecticut, contest. One person, all I need is a response because they interbranch, forged names and switched names and they're pretending other. Because simultaneously they are stacking databases with predicate acts, with fake things. Because they had to hide their roles with recorded uses of investigations and investigators, to hide live progressions for uses of cases, uses of depositions, uses of, like for example, and uses of name stacking. Like there are people associated with the deposition. So anyway, all the means of evolution, all the fruits and gifts of evolution, all the means to have safety and to have positive value nature progressions, acts in nature, are very simple and they're immediate. If the plan is to stay on the series of connected revelations, that is this identity of truth and its identity of evidence evaluation, as correlation nature, as Trinity nature, as what is further positive or negative to itself. An inseparable bond our temporary positive has to the rest of ourselves, as temporary / lasting positive or negative, in relationship to the identity of the body of forever, and where and how identities have this relationship to positive and negative simultaneously. The perfect world. Tell boys and girls. The 10. So they have sense and sensibilities. And this method that uses logic's means to speak about where okay, well, this is long enough, this video.